How's it going, YouTube? United fans, welcome back. Bit of a long stream yesterday, watching the Chelsea game, watching the Chelsea Man United game. What's everyone's feedback, feelings on yesterday's game? Tight game. Was it a good result? Good bonus point? Good point? Depends how you look at it. I think it was an okay result considering. Formation was a bit strange. A lot of talk that Rangnick had a lot of involvement with the team and was talking to Fletcher during the game and that he was integral with picking the team. I'm not so sure. I think there was probably a little impact there. Surely he was on the phone or whatever he was. But if I was Rangnick, I wouldn't be sort of making rash decisions or rash involvement like that personally. I was kind of hoping that he would be somebody who would be coming in and wanting to make his impact in front of players and vocally and visually, and rather than doing it behind the scenes. Really, to be fair, this big brother of a coach is making some decisions, and everyone's got to adhere to it. So personally, I don't think. I hoped that wasn't going to be the case. So. Yeah, I have to say in that regard, in that respect. But yeah, so what do we think going forward against Arsenal? Do you think that'll be a good outing at home against Arsenal? So I think we've definitely got a little bit more of an advantage there. Obviously, they're on a little bit more form than possibly we are on form. So I think we've definitely got some level of authority there on the game where we can get a bit of a foothold on that as an advantage. I think we're coming off the back of some bad results. I think we've got a little bit of impetus in terms of a little bit of a boost, a little bit of a point to prove. So I think we've definitely got some shout there. A lot of talk yesterday. I saw the Roy Keane Carrick debate regarding Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo will be constantly a debate. If it doesn't work, Ronaldo will be a problem. If it works, Ronaldo will be the saviour. That's got to take its course. I think as United fans, we've just got to ignore it. Let these pundits have their moment in the sun and on TV. That's what as viewers we love to see, and Sky will be absolutely loving the fact that Roy Keane said this and Jamie Carragher's said that, and the loggerheads. I think it says more about Jamie Carragher that he's trying to stick up for himself against Roy Keane, and that he's trying to prove himself against Roy than the point he's actually trying to make. I think he's more worried about his demeanour in front of Roy and in front of the TV screen than about what he's actually saying. But half the time, and it pains me to say, I often find myself agreeing with Jamie Carragher because, I saw a little bit from Rio saying, well, the guy doesn't know how to win a league and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, granted, and I'm not defending him 100% here, but he's still a good player, and he's still, we all have views on the world, and Carragher's still got a fairly valid view, and I think from a tactical perspective, I think he sort of knows what he's talking about, and I think it's frustrated me as a Man United fan that sometimes ex-Man United players have such a say in what the club's doing, and if you see it now, you see it at BT Sport, a lot of ex-Man United players in Premier League, a lot of ex-Man United players, Sky, a lot of ex-Man United players, and I think as United fans, we kind of want to disregard that notion that we're just sort of like, sucking the Premier League dry and having all the favouritism sort of thrown our way and all the bias. I think as United fans, we've always wanted to see, disprove that theory that we get all the favourable injury time minutes, that we, the Fergie time thing's a bit of a myth. We joke about it, but that we get penalties when other teams don't get penalties. I think personally, as a United fan, you want to beat these teams fair and square, and not have that notion hanging over your head that, or because we've been a big team, that we suddenly get all the decisions and the chances and favourable decisions. Personally, so when you see all these ex-footballers or ex-Man United players, punditing, and don't get me wrong, the fact that United were such a solid, unbelievable, successful team makes me proud to see a lot of my ex-players, the ex-players that we supported on some of these TV panels and shows and punditry shows. But equally, you kind of want a bit of unbiased there as well. But I think what we are seeing with some of the ex-players coming through now, and obviously Scholes has gathered a bit of a voice over the years. He was quite a shy sort of, not shy, maybe shy is the wrong word, but just media shy person. Roy a little bit the same, and they're starting to come out of the shell and show a bit what they're about. So from that perspective, I enjoy watching that. But I think that little debate, Roy likes an argument, like I said, and anybody that disagrees with him is wrong. He doesn't seem to sort of like to see anybody else's his viewpoint. I don't think, and obviously he would disagree with me on that front, I'm sure. So that is what it is. But yeah, so in terms of Ralf, I was talking a little bit about Ralf Rangnick last week because I felt as if the deal was kind of done last week anyway. So for me, this was kind of a bit of a done deal last week. I think we've just had, it's been a bit more official since Carrick has sort of played probably his last game. Ralf Rangnick will be coming in into training this week, so we'll see a little bit of that. Hopefully we'll get some interviews done where we can talk about that this week in terms of his philosophy and his idea with the team. It's going to take weeks. This is going to go on and on and on. First of all, hold on a minute. What's going on? What's going on here? Why is my Ronaldo picture being covered up by this? What's that? A dandelion? That's got to get moved, hasn't it? I'm moving that. There we go. That's better. My Ronaldo picture fell off the wall up there somewhere. Up here. My Old Trafford picture is up there. But it fell off the bloody wall, so I've had to put it down here. But actually, you can all see it a little bit better here now. But what was that doing in the way of the great man? So, yeah, anyway. Yeah, so I did a little bit on Ralf Rangnick, talking about like his philosophy. Obviously, he plays attacking, high pressing, hard counter attacking, all the things that any football fan wants to hear and every football fan wants to see from the team. Is that going to work with our squad? And in Roy Keane's argument, they're on about Rashford, and I had a big gripe with Rashford yesterday on the stream. He wasn't pressing. First half, dreadful. Wasn't just walking up, ambling to the right back, along, just ambling, and there was weakness there on that side, on that right hand side from Chelsea, from a Chelsea point of view. But he was just ambling along, ambling up to the, the full back, and just letting him out of play. Sancho was a little bit better. Second half, Rashford started to knuckle down a little bit, but Rashford wasn't doing it. Everyone criticising Ronaldo. The trouble with United is that we're not playing to Ronaldo. We're not whipping balls in the box. We're not getting enough corners. We're not getting enough set pieces. And we get 10 times more set pieces in a game, or, 2 more crosses either side, left and right. So 4 more crosses, 2 more set pieces, and 2 or 3 more corners per game on average. Ronaldo's getting maybe 1 or 2 goals in that game. That's just the way it's going to go down. We're not doing that against any team, and that's ultimately the problem here, that we're not seeing that enough. So that needs to change, and that's not Ronaldo's fault. That's the service that we're providing him in the style that we're playing. I've got no doubt if Ralf Rangnick's got anything about him, and he's a good enough coach, he's making Ronaldo work in that team, and I don't think it's worth having an argument about and worth worrying about. Yeah. The reason we're seeing arguments and fallout on a TV panel show, on a Sunday night between Man United and, well, I don't need to say any more, do I? The reason we're seeing it is because one's Man United through and through, and one's Liverpool through and through. Now, whether Roy Keane wants to believe that or not himself, he is Man United through and through, because as soon as he's challenged, it comes out in him in it ebbs and flows out of him. His passion for Man United. So he knows he loves that club down to the ground, and it pained him when he left. He won't tell you that. He did deny it every day of the week if you asked him, but he loves that club more than any other club in the world. And seeing it in the state that it's in, it pains him. So Carrick will just hit at anybody who wants to pretend that United aren't a big club. Now, don't get me wrong, he built up a friendship with Gary Neville, but he still loves giving it to Gary Neville as well. And putting Gary Neville on the spot and saying... Because, let's be honest, if it was the other way around, Gary Neville would be making sure that Carragher felt this big. And let's be honest, Carragher felt this big for probably 20 years of his career when United were this big. So, yeah, that's the situation. That's the situation with that. It's what's my tooth there? Okay, I know. It's a petty argument that will just go on and on and on. I had a fun size Christmas time celebration. I had a celebration Snickers. You got to have, haven't you? It's just going to get more and more and more. You got to have a November pre-December celebration box. So yeah, you're going to get those arguments. You're going to get those arguments, and it's good TV. And whether they probably just shake hands, it's probably just like boxers having a bit of banter, and then after the cameras have moved on, they go like, yeah, we're selling fights here, we're selling tickets, and these pundits are selling viewers, aren't they? They're getting viewers in through the door. So fair play to him for that. In terms of Ralf Rangnick, then, do we think he's going to be the man that's going to carry us through to top 4 this season? Because let's be honest now, that's the target. Looking at the league, what are we, 5-6 points off Arsenal? We're 5th. So, if you were sat now in 4th, looking at 5 points behind top, you'd be worried 10, 12, 15 years ago. And now you've got a situation where you've got, we're 5 points off Arsenal, 5-6 points off Arsenal, whatever the gap is. I can't remember off the top of my head. Is he going to be the man that's going to take us to top 4? Well, he's not a man that's taken many club to a top flight place, other than RB Leipzig. Obviously, that's a massive achievement in anybody's career, because of the fact that he took a club that had barely nothing to something in the sort of a blink of an eye in footballing terms. Obviously, it had money, but he still had to develop that system. But the thing is, with money and quality, there's only so far you can take a club. The thing is, with United, he knows that with the standard of player that we've got and the fan base, it's with the currently there with Leipzig at the minute. I can't get my hands straight. It's currently there with Leipzig at the minute, and he knows that United have got that quality up and above where Leipzig could ever reach. So, but United are now here with Leipzig in terms of it being a realistic, in terms of the ability, in terms of the current stature. But he knows Man United have been here compared to Leipzig. I've got the potential to be here again over Leipzig, and so he knows. But Leipzig haven't got that potential. And so he knows now this is his next big thing in his CV, that he knows that within his managerial stature and his ability, he can take United back to where they belong, above there in the upper echelons of European football. I mean, what I would add as a Man United fan, because I think we were very, very, very lucky in the late 2000s, really, in regards to how good we got as a team. We brought in some good players, in Ronaldo, in Rooney, in Berbatov, in Tevez, Nemanja Vidic and Evra and all those players as well. And we built, Fergie built an unbelievable team. But in the early 2000s, in the late night, obviously in the late 90s, but going into the early 2000s, obviously we had Rude and some other fantastic players, but wasn't as prolific. Obviously Arsenal were dominant, but we were always there and thereabouts. I suppose there's been patches in where I think even in Europe for me, just talking specifically in Europe, but I've never felt as if we were ever, destined and dominant really beyond 08 or in and around that sort of time. Even in the late 90s when we won it in 99, never really felt like we were always the underdog in every game, despite how brilliant that team was. I always felt like we were the underdog in those games, and that Bayern Munich team really in that final was, you could argue they were the better team, they were the stronger team, but unbelievable fight, unbelievable spirit, and that's what and we had talent in that team as well that then blossomed into greater and better things, didn't it? So yeah, no, 100%. This squad has got the next potential to do what those teams did in 99 and 2008, 9 and definitely. I mean, I've heard stuff about it'll take another 2 or 3 years for things to build. No way, that just cannot happen. The scary thing about football now is that the talent spectrum in the league, in most leagues now, is getting so high, so high that teams really aren't just poor in the Premier League. To what you had in the Premier League, in my book, years and years and years ago, was you had sort of within the league itself, you had probably a League One and a Championship and a Premier League, where it was like the Premier League with the top 4 or 5 and 6, and then you had a Championship level mid-table, and then probably a little less than that. That's no more. That is just no more. Apart from the maybe bottom 3 or 4, the rest of the league is so strong, and the 17th, 16th, 15th can beat the top 3 teams in the league. It's scary, the level of technical ability that is rife within each team now. And because money is becoming a thing for most teams, most lower tier teams are affording 20-30 million pound players, which 20 years ago was almost knocking on the door for a world record. It's scary how money is not. Obviously, it's growing at the topper end of the game, but even the lower teams are affording players of silly money. Money's rife all the way up from top to from bottom to top. So yeah, crazy in that respect. The big thing for me with Rangnick as well. Will we see the coaching staff stay? Will we see Carrick? Will we see Fletcher stay? I think a small part of me wants to say yes. Carrick was around in the Mourinho days, stayed around for the Ollie days. Is Carrick going to stay around for the Rangnick interim period? And I think he will in some capacity. Will he be sat there with him on game days? Again, a small part of me thinks a little bit yes. It's a larger no, but it's a little bit yes. But I think it's a larger yes for doing something within the club. I don't see him losing his job. He's not done anything wrong in particular. He's been there as a coach. He was there as an interim coach. So then he got probably first team coach through the back of all, assistant coach through the back of all getting the full time job. But he was there as an interims assistant or an interim assistant, whatever you want to call it. There, will Fletcher lose his role as a technical director? I don't think so. I think that's separate to the ongoings on the day-to-day training ground and the ongoings on the match day with Fletcher. And I think as technical director, he's got a different path, a different career path there outside of obviously his footballing career, and that's something that he's worked on. He's working on separate. I think he will stick around. Obviously, we've got Lars Kanek coming in, who's going to be Ralf's number 2. Which makes me think Carrick won't be around. I don't think Phelan will be around. I think Phelan will be gone. I think Phelan will make a mutual decision to, if not already, leave the club. I've not heard. Let's just double check that. But I've not seen anything to suggest that Ralf is Mike Phelan has actually left the club. Let me just double check that. Not seeing any sort of reports on Mike Phelan regarding that. Just double check on this one. Obviously, a big part of the well, it's saying here well, I won't mention the news report or the source where it's coming from, but apparently Phelan, McKenna, and Carrick all set to work under Rangnick. I bloody hope not, especially from McKenna. I just don't get a good impression from him. It's hard to judge somebody when you don't sort of meet them, but you know. I think you get a good impression from body language and stuff and looking at that guy on match days and stuff like that, and from what you've seen and heard from training, it doesn't look particularly good. I think for Rangnick, it's kind of like it's a proper not a liquidation type sort of approach to the team, but I think he's got to come in, assess the players, assess the setup, assess the training ground and the coaching. I think he's got to almost take a step back a little bit, allow them to do what they've normally done, and then go, nah. That this is what we're doing now. So give him a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month. Go, no. That's dreadful. That's awful. That's not happening. Or this is what you're doing straight away. This is what you're doing. Follow this. If you can't follow this, let me know, and you're gone, and I'll get somebody in who can follow this training regime. So I think that's what I'll do. I think I'll give them an opportunity to follow his regime. You know, he knows he's got a talented player in Carrick, or was a talented player in Carrick, and potentially a talented coach who's not lost. Not lost a game out of 2 now with the first team. So that takes some credit. 2 very big games. A Champions League must-win game against Villarreal away from home where he's won, and then another away from home game against the top of the league, arguably one of the best teams in the country in Chelsea, and he's not lost a game. So that takes some credit, and I think Rangnick will observe that, and he'll reward that with a place in his coaching staff to show that, look, appreciate what you've done. Here's what I want you to do. Can you do that for me? And then let's see what the outcome is. I think the same for the rest of the coaching staff in the team as well. I think from a Mike Phelan personally, I mean, maybe Rangnick will feel as if he can get something out of Mike Phelan, but personally, I think it's come a time where, I'm sure Mike would agree, his time in football has come to a bit of an abrupt end, and I think he needs to allow these younger coaching members in the team the opportunity to do what they think is best and move his club forward. I think, that's personally what I feel. Maybe you would disagree with that, and maybe Rangnick disagrees, and players disagree, and the rest of the coaching staff, and they think that feeling that he's providing a unbelievable service to the team, and he needs to stay. In which case, I'm completely wrong. But personally, I think it's time for somebody else to come in. But that's not what I agree with. I think it should be moved on. So interesting time for Man United, and I think a brilliant opportunity for us to start afresh and start new. Do I think Ronaldo's got risk in the team? Nah, not even a slight bit. I think, as I said earlier on, I think if Rangnick is got a very good and high opinion of himself as a coach and as an influencer and as somebody who can improve people. I mean, he's 36 and he's done everything in the game, but I think if he can approach it with Ronaldo where he can possibly get through to him from a different angle that Ronaldo's never seen before, that's a challenge. That's a massive reward for any manager and any coach to be given the opportunity to work with one of the greatest players that's ever played the game, and possibly teach him something different and something new and approach it in a slightly different way that he's never seen before. That's surely something that Rangnick wants to put on his CV and say, I worked for Ronaldo and it worked. And we got, we did this well in Europe and we did this well in the league, eventually turned it around and we got top 4 and I got the buy-in from Ronaldo and I was able to make it work with him in the team. Surely that is something that he wants to crack and the code he wants to crack. Personally, I'd love to see that, and I think we all do as Man United fans. I think Carrick's main gripe really with the team. What's going on with the focus? Carrick's main gripe with Ronaldo was that we brought him in to improve a team, to improve a squad, to win the league, take us at that next level. He looked at that and went, "You were second. You brought these players in. Now that must mean you attain first." I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that either. We just signed Ronaldo because we didn't want to go to Man City. I mean, if he was generally going to go to Man City because Man United didn't want to come in for him, a bit of shithousery from Ronaldo. I didn't ever believe that story personally. But let's assume that wasn't true at all, and we just genuinely signed him because we wanted him, which I hope that was the case, and I think that was the case. It was definitely the case for the fans, but I mean in terms of the club and everything else and the board, I think we signed him for lots of different reasons. Really, it's Ronaldo. It's a big signing. It brings financial backing, which from a Glazers' point of view is the only thing they ever look at. I think, but he's still producing. And the thing is with Ronaldo, if we actually did give him proper service, he'd produce even more. That's a scary thing about it. The only game where we actually give him some sort of level of production, limited, was the Newcastle game. We ended up scoring 2 goals. This is a player who should be scoring more than 1 or 2. He should be getting hat-tricks. He's unreal clinical finishing. The game against Villarreal, I mean, most players take a touch there, bring it down, try and go around the keeper. Just unreal. Didn't even look, just knew exactly how to execute that goal. We're not providing, we're not crossing enough. We're not getting enough set pieces in and around the box. We're not giving him service. All we're giving him is like tail end trash of like rebounds, loose balls. It's bollocks. It's crap. And Rangnick will want to sort that out. He's got a player there, a focal point, with an unbelievable goal ratio if you allow him to. What he's also got is another product who could be similar to Ronaldo's product, and that's Mason Greenwood. Where is he gone? What's he done wrong? I'll tell you what he's done wrong. He's watched Ronaldo come in. That's all he's done wrong, because for me, at the start of this season, we potentially do better than we are. Maybe not to win the league. Well, definitely not win the league. Or maybe compete for the league. We're sat now 4th or 3rd with Mason Greenwood starting this season. And going with the same formation that we did against Everton pre-season, where we won 4-0 and Mason scored. What we did against Newcastle, where Mason scored. Mason scored against... did he score against Leeds? I think he scored against Leeds. He did very well at the start of this season. Off the top of my head. Very, very well at the start of the season. And then Ronaldo's come in and he's had to sit on the bench and he's lost his place in the England team despite not doing anything wrong. And then he's been pushed wide right. And that needs to change. And Rangnick hopefully will see that. Obviously he's got Sancho he needs to work with. He's got Rashford he needs to work with. He's got even Martial and Donny van der Beek. Some youngish players who have got massive potential in this team. And Mason Greenwood is, for me, the top of that list in terms of the biggest potential, and the biggest potential that is currently dwindling. It's a candle that's burning away that's getting to sort of halfway down the stick, and it's just a waste. I know he's very, very young, but when you're that age, you need to be playing. And you've seen it with Rooney, you saw it with Ronaldo when they were young. These players weren't sitting on the bench; they were playing every single week, and that's what Mason Greenwood needs to do, and playing in position, not playing out of position, playing centre forward, down the middle, where he can go left and go right, turn, spin, unbelievable finisher, and he needs to be playing. And if he's not playing, his talent's going to dwindle, and that's a sad thing of it. A small part of me thinks that with Mason, I know there was a thing with the Foden thing before the England Euros, or the Euros be England, and he got dropped from that. And a small part of me thinks there's a bit of behind the scenes stuff, immaturity or behavioural issues with Mason that we're not seeing. You know, when you see him, when you see Mason on the pitch, he just looks like a pretty mild-mannered, passive sort of character. But a small part of me thinks there's something else going on behind the scenes where he's not focused, he's not training well, and that's why he's not getting a look in it with the England squad. But other than that, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, his talent's unbelievable, so it's an odd one. But Ralf Rangnick, good appointment. He's in. Let's see how he gets on this week. Can't wait to see how he reacts with the media in his first press conference, which hopefully will be at some point this week. Hopefully it'll be tomorrow, but I doubt it. It'll probably be later in the week. So let's see how he gets on. I'm really hoping how he reacts with the players, what he does with the captaincy, what he does with Maguire, how he reacts with Bruno, ultimately how he reacts with Ronaldo, obviously how he integrates Sancho. He's got a big game against Arsenal. I just can't wait for his first lineup and just see how that performs, and let's see what he's thinking. He's got some. Klopp said, he's going to struggle because the thing that's going to hit him as a coach, and this is maybe his inexperienced Rangnick. He looks very, very experienced with the teams that he's managed, but the English fixture list, the British fixture list, FA Cups, League Cups, we're out of that. But FA Cup, Christmas fixture list, which just constant game, 2 days game, 2 days game. Europe coming up, that constant TV fixture list essentially, and Klopp said he's going to struggle when it comes to wanting to implement his methods and style and basically get him in training. He's going to realise how much of a struggle that actually is, because you can't get him in training, you can't work on things because they play so often. Half the time, all you're doing is giving them light training and resting them to get them ready for the next game. So we'll see. I think that'll be his first gripe, no doubt. But and it's coming into obviously that period now in December where he's going to experience that full on. So yeah, if you've been watching or you do watch, make sure you subscribe. I'll try to do one every evening if I can. If there's some big news, especially at 8 o'clock, 8:30, between that time, I usually put a reminder on. So yeah, look out for that. I'll share it on Twitter. But yeah, subscribe if you can. Hit the like button if you like the content. Leave a comment if you want me to reply. And catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for watching. See you in a bit.